So it's about 8 o'clock now. I was up around a little bit before 2. I have eaten. I had to lie down for a few, well, maybe about an hour. My stomach was a little bit unhappy with the sheer amount of food I just ate. Um, I guess I was actually a little bit extra hungry this morning. Last night I sat down to read an article on Turkey and I fell asleep like within minutes. So like I say, it's that weird kind of, might be the weather too. It's like you're like if you're up and you're doing something, you're awake, but you know that you're too tired. So and as soon as you sit down, you fall asleep. Right now, like I say, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm about to get to work. I will be working all day. Um, First time in a while where I can seriously say that, and um, we'll see what kind of highlights I get up in there. There's some light, a little bit brighter actually, even though the tubes are a little bit smaller. I guess maybe it's because they're brand new. These ones are, actually the last ones were 40 watts. These ones are 32. I guess they're just newer. Um, Definitely brighter. The landlord showed up and actually swapped them out. Apparently he got them. He could get them cheaper from a supply chain, which is kind of what I thought. But anyways, yeah, he said like yeah, that one seems to be a little bit funny. Um, I think it's the connector though, rather than the light. But it's fine. I'll play with that a little bit. But I've got some light. Anyways, and that's better than no light. So that's and like I say, proof that the landlord is in fact cool. And back to work. So it's about 11:30, and unfortunately the day hasn't turned out very productively at all. I've been mostly lying on my back. It's not quite the weather change stomach ache. It's mostly just gas, but I think that it might be mildly the weather change stomach ache. We just had a nice batch of warm air move in. It took the temperature up, a good 10 degrees, and it's going to come back down another 10 degrees tomorrow. So that's when my stomach starts playing with me, although it doesn't really quite feel like it. It's when I get that kind of stomach ache, it's more of like an intense kind of sharp one, whereas this just felt like gas. But it could be slightly interrelated. Who knows? Either way, I'm starting to feel better now, so I am going to get to work now. But I better at least get this track done today. And hopefully I get the one after it, which is, as I pointed out a few times, also going to require some playing, so that when I get back to it in a day or two, I'm able to move through it fairly quickly. That's my task for today, anyways. So it's 5:30. This might be the end of the day. I'm not sure yet. Kind of feeling iffy. But I have just completed this. I ended up having to rip the whole thing apart. I needed more treble. Um, I I'm not sure how I ended up with not having enough treble. I may have initially mixed it with my little treble knob on my stereo receiver up all the way. I know I've done that a couple of times. That might be the culprit. I can emulate that by just it's around 12,000 hertz or so, just by boosting it. I figured that out by trial and error. It might be a little lower than that, maybe a little bit closer to 10, but that seems to get me a pretty good frequency response to emulate just cranking the treble knob. It might have been that. It might have been something with the drivers broken, although I would actually think it would be the other way around. It would be too tinny, and there are going to be a couple of tracks coming up where I know that the result is too tinny because the clock was broken, which took me down. Then again, I may have managed to break it initially in a different way so that it was the other way around. But it also meant I had to spend some time. See, because I would expect it if I wanted more trouble, that would tell me the system was broken. So I had to verify that it wasn't by taking the headphones, checking some of the other sources, back and forth, checking it with those headphones and my other headphones, and just generally, verifying. And as far as I can tell, the signal was clean. So that's what I had to do. Um, but it is done, or at least I'm pretty sure it's done. I have to check it in a few different other ways, but I'm pretty content with this. Um, I'm getting to the last couple of hours of the night, so I don't know if I'm going to get through the next track, but I should at least get it started. But this one is done, I think, and it's time to move on to the next one. Yeah, I'm done with this tune. And no, I'm thinking, I've actually got these like Studio Kef monitors sitting in here. These are quite nice headphones. They're old. Quite nice speakers. They're quite nice headphones too, but they're quite nice speakers. My father was a bit of an audiophile. He did all the research he needed to do to get the types of speakers that he wanted so he could play the records that he grew up with. So it was important to him that he had the um, types of speakers that were used to monitor those old records from the 70s that he liked. It was mostly progressive rock stuff, English stuff mostly. Guy was like half Cree, half French, part Italian, but he was completely obsessed with English progressive rock. Um, Actually, and this is something he would point out repeatedly. For all Quebec's, anti-Anglo rhetoric, progressive, like English prog is huge in Quebec. It's probably something most Americans don't know. But like, if a band like if Peter Gabriel comes through North America, like he'll do his shows in the big American cities, but then he'll do like 5 nights straight in Montreal, and he'll sell out every night. Like, and it's the same thing with like bands like Pink Floyd and King Crimson. Like all those 70s prog acts from Britain are just huge in Quebec. And I mean, it has worked itself out. I mean, in the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a fairly substantial, um, um, essentially progressive rock scene in Montreal, centered around a band called Godspeed You Black Emperor, who nowadays are legendary. If you're a fan of pop music, you're probably familiar with the Arcade Fire, who may not have been from Montreal, but went to Montreal to take advantage of that. So I mean, and there's this. I mean, it's not something that just came out of nowhere. There's like a serious history of Quebec being obsessed with that style of music, going back to its point of origin. Um, but yeah, so I mean, he needed to get the speakers that he wanted. I mean, as he aged, he bought newer speakers for newer systems, partly because the newer music that he listened to wasn't done with 70s technology anymore. So the old the Kefs and the Celestians, they got stuck in attached to systems that were in the basement that were designed for like record players and whatnot. And I ended up inheriting a pair of Kefs, and a pair of Celestians are in the living room. They're, like I said, they're both ancient, but relative to what they were, they're quite high-end speakers. So I never use them because they're too loud for a room like this. But I mean, they're sitting there, and I've got a vlog, so why don't I give this tune a listen on my fancy Kefs here. So let me. I'm gonna want to take a step back here, so I'm gonna press the button and then zoom. Make sure there's no. I'm not 7 years old, so I know not to do that. Although I probably will end up cracking my head open anyways. as a 7-year-old would. Okay, let's give this a shot here. Well, my batteries went out there. Maybe it's for the best. If you like the tune, the link's at the bottom. Um, or the Bandcamp link's at the bottom of, or in the description. That's what I mean to say. Underneath the video, not at the bottom of anything, just underneath the video. Hopefully it picks up the deeper bass. The volume actually was, well, it was set to 4. I'd get a little bit more definition out of it if I turned it up, but I don't want to get my neighbor down here yelling at me. It's not late, but I mean, there's no real reason to disturb the guy up there. There's some just recording it for. I mean, if I had a good reason to wake him up, I would. But there's not really any reason to be an asshole at this particular moment. But the bass got a little. I mean, it's boomy, but in order to really get the dynamics, I would have to turn the volume up. And I mean, when I'm mixing, it's not going to be at a 4. It's going to be more like around 8. So, and that's through the phones. So it was at half volume, and it sounded like it was at half volume, but you get the point. These are some serious little speakers down here. But like I say, inherited from a bit of an audiophile. He needed to get his selling England by the pound through the system that it was meant to sound like. So he did, and now they're down here. So, anyways, I am going to go transfer that onto my USB key and move it over onto the other machine. I'm done for the night. There's some. I want to go through some still shots of my conversation with myself in the bathroom yesterday, because I'm gonna change my profile pic. I gotta pick a shot out of there, but the system's shutting down. I'll be up for a bit doing that, but I will eventually pass out in the process. So I'm out for the day. Later.